A car bomb explodes in Somalia, killing at least 5 people in the capital. Commemorating the Rwandan genocide with a week of mourning. We'll have the details. And we'll explain how the internet can grow Nigeria's small businesses. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Tonight we begin with two major stories out of Somalia. First, a car bombing in Mogadishu has killed at least 5 people, including school children. Witnesses say screams of anguish could be heard following the blast outside a Mogadishu restaurant packed with lunchtime customers. According to a witness, a young girl could be heard shrieking loudly for her sister before finding a bloody body lying next to a destroyed car. The restaurant is close to the municipal government headquarters and in a busy commercial area. Another witness says he saw at least 5 people covered in blood outside the restaurant. The terrorist group Al-Shabaab, which has ties with Al-Qaeda, has been carrying out a campaign of deadly violence, targeting government officials and international troops, as well as hotels and restaurants in the capital. Now, our other top story on Monday in Somalia is the execution of a former journalist linked to Al-Shabaab on charges of killing at least 5 other journalists. Hassan Hanafi Haji, who once worked as a liaison officer with Al-Shabaab, was executed by a police firing squad in Mogadishu after being extradited from Kenya. Haji was one of the few prosecuted by the government following years of criticism by rights groups who urged authorities to do more to establish the rule of law and end the killings of journalists. Now, among the journalists he targeted for murder was VOA's Palestine Iman, who joins us now here to tell us more about it. Palestine, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you, Vincent.
Now, in an interview with the Somali TV, Hassan actually said that you are one of the people he wanted killed. How did you feel just hearing that?
Actually, I knew even while I was in Somalia, and because Hassan, although I survived, he killed many other journalists. Others survived, others injured. And Hassan admitted his role for the killing of the journalists on that interview. Hassan was not a stranger among the journalists. It's someone we knew who used to work with us. We used to meet him on the news conferences and the media events in Somalia. And he was very dangerous for the journalists because he knew us.
Yeah.
He was not like the other Al-Shabaab members.
But did you know that he was working for Al-Shabaab at that time?
No, actually.
You did not?
No, we did not. We realized he was working with Al-Shabaab. And we have some, because he used to call us. And when he left it, he was working for IQK radio. And then he left, and he used to call some journalists and intimidate them, asking them, you air this news. I know you live in there. I know you're doing there. So he was a risk living among us. So he was, Now,
there was actually an attempt on your life. They tried to kill you. Can you tell us how that happened?
Actually, it was August 11, 2007. I wake up a gunfire in front of my house. And as soon as I wake up and come out, I saw my friend lying on the floor. Mahad Ahmed Elmi, he was a journalist for Horn Afrique Media, whom I was working to. And we took him to the hospital, although we knew, he's not going to survive because he had gunshots on his head. I met Hassan Hanafi in the hospital, and he's mentioning in the interview that he met with me in the hospital. He was there to make sure the situation of Mahad, if he's died or if he's alive. And we went in Somalia, mostly when someone died, we bury in the same day. So we were busy for the morning, and then we have to arrange the funeral. So we went to the funeral, and as soon as we buried Mahad, 3 minutes after we left the cemetery, our car hit a roadside bomb. Hassan was with us. In the interview, he mentioned that he was identifying our car because that was a new car. We knew we were on risk, so we took a new car. So he was with us to identify and confirm them.
That you are the ones.
The casualties, yes. So he said, I identified the car, and then the director of Horn Afrique Media, Ali Sharmarka, died. Another journalist from Reuters injured. I slightly get in sharpener on my left eye battle, but I survived.
Now, very quickly, why did Al-Shabaab want you dead?
There is a couple of reasons, not only me, but all the journalists. I might be a female journalist, and I'm twice, they can see you a threat twice as a male journalist. But the reason was to intimidate the journalists, because Horn Africa was very popular, radio and TV, to show the other journalists we will do the same we did this group or Horn Africa. So you have to follow our orders. We refused to follow their orders because they wanted to control our daily editorial, events, our news, our programs, and we insisted not to cooperate with them. So they were trying to intimidate for the other journalists to show we did this, so follow us. So that was the whole idea. They wanted to kill us.
Wow. We really feel bad and sad for fallen fellow journalists, but I'm happy that we have you with us.
Thank you.
And we hope you stay safe. Thanks a lot, Palestine, for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
Well, Palestine Iman is a reporter with VOA's Somali service. A new ceasefire is underway in Yemen today, Monday. The truce began overnight with the Yemeni government, the Saudi-led coalition that backs it, and the Houthi rebels who seized control of Yemen's capital, Sana'a, in late 2014, all pledging to abide by the deal. Now, the truce is aimed at giving peace talks scheduled for April the 18th in Kuwait a chance to succeed. Several other ceasefires in Yemen have failed, and desperate civilians say they hope this one will last.
We hope that this truce will be a serious truce and it will be reliable, from all parties, and that peace will prevail in the country. This is a real rescue for the poor and the needy who are now surviving the civil war, with the planes raining down on them and killing innocent.
Well, a Saudi-backed coalition launched airstrikes against the Houthis last year and also sent in ground forces. The airstrikes and fighting on the ground have killed about 6,000 people and created a humanitarian catastrophe in Yemen. Ismail al-Sheikh Ahmed, the United Nations envoy for Yemen, welcomed the ceasefire, calling it a first step in Yemen's return to peace. Now, each year, under the slogan, Never Again, Rwanda marks the anniversary of the 1994 genocide with a week of mourning. The mourning period begins with Rwandan President Paul Kagame lighting the eternal flame that will burn for 100 days at the Kigali Genocide Memorial. Rwandans living in the United States gathered here in Washington, D.C. to pay tribute to the victims of the genocide against the Tutsis. VOA's Eddie Rema reports.
It was a somber atmosphere as Rwandans commemorated the 22nd anniversary of the 1994 genocide that claimed the lives of over 1 million Tutsis in Rwanda. Remembered under the theme Fighting Genocide Ideology, Rwanda's ambassador to the United States, Matilde Mukantabana, reminded those present that genocide ideology is a weapon that must be fought relentlessly both by countries facing it and the international community.
Genocide ideology is a body of knowledge. But once you are denying genocide happened, also you build all the attendant support system to show that genocide didn't happen. And that's a precursor to other genocides. Once you don't account for that past, there's no way you can address the future genocide.
The day was marked by prayers, candle lighting, a poem recited by Rwandan poet Angel Uwamahoro, and a panel discussion that brought together acclaimed American genocide and Holocaust scholars. 22 years since the tragic events and thousands of miles from their home country, memories of the genocide are still fresh in the memories of survivors living in the United States. Survivor Immaculée Mukantaganira vividly recalls the events.
The genocide greatly affected me as I lost my husband during the genocide. I lost my 2 daughters. I lost siblings. I lost many people in my family and my faithful friends. World level, we still see perpetrators of the genocide not facing justice. So for us, survival, we die every day when we see that some countries protect those who committed the genocide.
In Rwanda, April 7 marks the beginning of 100 days of mourning. In his message on the 22nd anniversary of the genocide in Rwanda, U.S. President Barack Obama said the anniversary should be a reminder of our common humanity and shared commitment to protecting civilians and ensuring that mass atrocities of this magnitude never happen again.
We lost so much. We lost 1 million of our own. We lost so much. We will forever mourn those who were torn away from us. We lost so much when we forgot to trust in us. We lost when we forgot, which is why we must remember.
Eddie Rema reporting there. Now, in the race for the White House, the next presidential primary contest is more than a week away. But the front runners in both parties are looking to boost their delegates' lead. But as viewers, Michael Bowman reports, the all-critical delegate math is far more straightforward on the Democratic side than on the Republican side.
Republican Ted Cruz and Democrat Bernie Sanders won big last week in Wisconsin, but face tough odds next week in New York, Donald Trump's home state.
It's great to be home. This is home.
And the state Hillary Clinton once represented as a senator.
Whoa! Hello, Sunset Park! Hello, Brooklyn!
With time dwindling to overtake the frontrunners in the delegate count, challengers are waging battles of perception. Sanders insists he retains a path to the nomination.
If we can win here, it absolutely opens the door to a path toward victory to the White House. When that voter turnout is high, we win.
Cruz, meanwhile, is making a more complicated argument that he could win the nomination even if he trails Trump in delegates heading into the Republican National Convention in July.
If we go into a contested convention, we're going to have a ton of delegates. Donald is going to have a ton of delegates. I think we will go in with an overwhelming advantage. I believe the first ballot will be the highest vote total Donald Trump receives, and on a subsequent ballot, we're going to win the nomination and earn a majority.
After a poor showing in Wisconsin, Trump shook up his campaign staff, but his rhetoric is unchanged.
You know, Lion Ted Cruz came today. He couldn't draw 100 people.
Clinton, meanwhile, says she is impatient to wrap up the Democratic contest so she can focus on the general election.
We are on the path to the nomination, but I need to win big here in New York because the sooner I can become the nominee, I can turn and unify the Democratic Party, and the sooner we can go after the Republicans full-time.
Polls show Clinton and Trump with substantial leads in New York. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Coming up, a major bank in Kenya runs into problems. Africa 54's Jill Malandrino has the details after a short break.
From science and technology, here's What's New.
What's new? One of the most advanced smart cities in the world. Santander is on Spain's north coast and is part of a project by the University of Cantabria to flood the city with sensors, barcodes, and other smart technology. Angel Benito owns a chain of shoe shops in the city.
When we're closed, they can find out about our opening hours, our products, and where our shops are.
The technology can be applied to many aspects of daily life in Santander. There are at least 20,000 sensors around the city, including an underground sensor that registers when a parking space is free, a virtual reality app that helps people find their way around, and another to empty the city's rubbish only when the bins are full. And how about this? Locals can find out the exact arrival time of the bus at their stop. Marina Garcia lives in Santander.
They need to do more so that everyone can know about it all. Me, I wasn't up to speed at all.
For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Rosales.
Well, in business news, Chase Bank of Kenya is the nation's third financial institution to be placed in receivership as it experiences liquidity difficulties following viral social media posts. Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino has more on this story from New York.
In 2016, global banking has been focused on Europe as bank stocks hit multi-year lows. Meanwhile, U.S. bank balance sheets are as strong as they have been since the financial crisis. However, one lingering concern in the banking sector is exposure to commodities, particularly oil and gas, which brings us to Africa, one of the most oil-dependent regions in the world. Recall, Barclays announced recently it plans to exit from the region. Besides Barclays selling off a majority of its stake, sub-Saharan Africa is due for a downturn in the face of slower growth, weakening assets, and tighter liquidity and capitalization. On Thursday, Chase Bank Kenya was put in receivership under the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation after it failed to meet financial obligations, becoming the third lender in the country to be placed under central bank control. It is the latest move by Kenya's new governor of the Central Bank of Kenya to clean up the sector in East Africa's largest economy. But here's what makes the story interesting. It has nothing to do with the commodity story. Chase Bank Kenya experienced liquidity difficulties following inaccurate social media reports, according to the CBK press release. Social media, of all things. A message which went viral on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter warned Kenyans of an imminent collapse of Chase Bank Limited, and that has partly proved itself true, even though the bank dismissed this as rumors. In addition, 2 directors stepped down following a restatement of financial results, which showed loans to bank directors were previously understated. This led to a loss of about 686 million shillings, which is a sharp drop, but nothing out of the ordinary. According to local unconfirmed reports, the social media blitz led to massive withdrawals to the tune of 21 billion shillings. Clearly, Chase Bank Kenya failed to comply with the Central Bank of Kenya rules regarding loans to directors, but was there any cause for that type of mayhem? Now, I understand how social media, Twitter in particular, can move markets. We see pops and drops in stocks all the time based on what users post on Twitter and StockTwits. In fact, traders write sophisticated algorithmic programs based on social media trends. These programs are designed to do what's called scraping of ticker symbols and keywords for traders to act on. But for social media to impact the liquidity of a bank is simply astounding.
Well, in a world of competing priorities like the migrant influx in Europe, the Syrian war, and terrorism, Millennium Challenge Corporation Chief Executive Officer Dana Hyde says the agency's mission of reducing poverty through economic growth is a key to stability around the world. VOA's Mariama Diallo sat down with Hyde in this exclusive, wide-ranging interview.
MCC was founded on a strong bipartisan consensus, so Democrats and Republicans very much support that model. And after 12 years, that support is very strong. And the president's budget is requesting a $100 million increase. That said, we know it's a really challenging fiscal and constrained fiscal environment. So we are cautiously hopeful and certainly know from the hearing and from my meetings on Capitol Hill that there's strong support for MCC.
Basically, in a world of competing priorities, there's a lot going on, from influx of refugees to terrorism to health challenges. How do you make the case that MCC matters and it's important?
We make the case that the mission of MCC, which is how do we reduce poverty through economic growth, and we know how important opportunities and growth is for stability and for future and to address America's values overseas. So there are many dimensions of MCC, certainly supporting good governance, supporting rule of law, fighting corruption. There's strong support within Congress that these are important for America moving forward.
You mentioned basically MCC having had bipartisan support. Let's remind people that it was started by a Republican president, President Bush, and carried over by President Obama. And this is election year in the U.S. Does any of the rhetoric you hear in the campaign trail worry you?
MCC will be coming forward this year with a big compact in Niger. For example, on average, MCC's compacts are roughly $350 million. We're there for 5 years. We're working side by side with the people on the ground in Senegal. In fact, I visited there last year. And I was able to see what our investments are doing in the north and in the south in terms of creating in these communities markets, roads, and the like. So there is a really strong embrace of the work that we're doing, and I'm optimistic that that will continue.
And I think Senegal is has signed a second compact, in fact. Can we talk about that as well?
We can, and we're excited about that. We're in the early stages of what that second compact will be. So in fact, we have teams that are there now, and the first part of our engagement is to look now at the economy and see what are those constraints to growth in particular. In other places, MCC, for example, in Ghana, has invested in power and in bringing electrification to areas where there is none. But we'll wait and see where we go forward in Senegal. What's interesting about Senegal is that the board specifically authorized us also to look at the region and to look at potential regional investments in West Africa from Senegal, or also maybe perhaps from Cote d'Ivoire, that we could maximize our impact. So we're excited about that as well.
And while we're in West Africa, can we touch, there's a small country, Benin, that just elected a new president, and you also are going to be doing work in Benin, right?
This is our second compact with Benin. In the first investment, we focused on the port. Much of the GDP of the country is dependent upon volume that passes through the port. And we were able to do upgrades in that through a public and private partnership that helped increase volume by 75%. So we are now back in Benin. We've invested $375 million solely in energy and helping to bring generation capacity and access to two-thirds of the country does not have that right now. There's an opportunity, particularly in solar energy, which we're excited about in Benin, and then really focusing with the utility and some of the regulatory reforms.
Before I move on to other countries, since you were in Senegal, you were in Africa, just curious to know, from your point of view, seeing all the work that's been done in the past decade, like how did it feel, like concretely?
Now I can close my eyes and I can see the faces of the kids that greeted us at the community that we were in the north. In fact, there was this fantastic rally, and the people were there 2 or 3 hours before. We were able to see the road and the investment we've done. We were also able to go to one of the irrigation facilities where the water is flowing in and helping the farmers come back to the region. Finally, we visited a mayor's office where some of the farmers were getting actual title to their land through a land tenure project that we had helped to clarify and support. So it is the most gratifying part of what I do. It is really an honor and a privilege to lead this agency and to be able to visit and see that.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, how to grow Nigeria's small businesses. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. The Libyan Coast Guard rescues illegal migrants off the coast of Tripoli as they were cruising toward Europe. Madagascar president names his interior minister, Solonandrasana Oliver Mahafali, as his new prime minister. In the Comoros, a vote count starts from a tense three-way presidential runoff on Sunday. Finally, in Egypt, Saudi King Salman calls for a joint fight against terrorism in the Egyptian parliament. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back. Now, can the internet grow Nigeria's small businesses? Well, Samuel Okoche in Lagos explains how this can be done.
From this kitchen in Surulere area of Lagos, 27 years old Olashile Abayomi makes Nigerian soups for busy people who love good food but don't have a lot of time on their hands. After several years searching for a good job, Olashile found fulfillment in starting her own online soup cooking and delivery business.
Each time I make a delivery, each time I finish cooking, I get this fulfillment, I get this peace within me, like I've actually made someone happy.
Olashile runs soup market from her home. Clients make orders on the kind of soup they want, then she starts to cook. But for clients to come, Olashile goes online using social media platforms such as Instagram to advertise her business.
When I finish cooking, I take pictures of my food and I post. People get to see it, tell their friends, tag their friends on the pictures, and people get to order from there.
She sells soups in liters, and a liter, depending on the kind of soup, goes for about $10. The story of Olashile highlights how increasing internet penetration and online platforms provide opportunities for the growth of small businesses in Nigeria, cutting costs associated with operating a brick-and-mortar store. But many small business owners may never enjoy the benefit of online platforms to grow their businesses. That's according to Robert Omotunde, our Lagos-based investment analyst.
The constraints that we have in this part of the world, there are so many of such businesses that are yet to come under this platform because of the level of literacy. Most of those that are into retail businesses are not so learned, and as much as internet penetration is growing in the country, it might take some time for those of them that are not so 21st century compliant, for them to be able to tap into this huge opportunity, more so if the person is not that literate.
Meanwhile, Olashile looks forward to expanding our business.
Yeah, for now it is an online business, but in 5 years' time I hope to expand and have a physical restaurant where people can walk in and have a feel of our delicacies.
With a population of nearly 170 million people, more than a third of whom subscribe to mobile internet services, Nigeria remains a huge potential market for the growth of online small and retail businesses. Samuel Okocha for VOA, Lagos, Nigeria.
Well, it was quite a weekend in sports. Danny Willett from England won the Masters Golf Tournament in Augusta, Georgia, Sunday. The Masters is the first major golf tournament of the year. The defending champion Jordan Spieth led for most of the tournament before faltering badly on the last several holes. In the NBA, Golden State Warriors won their 72nd game of the season, beating the San Antonio Spurs 92-86 in San Antonio. The win ties Golden State with the 1996 Chicago Bulls, led by Michael Jordan, for the most wins in one NBA season. The Spurs were after their 40th straight win at home. Golden State can become the winningest team ever on Wednesday when it plays the Memphis Grizzlies in Oakland, California. And that's our show. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. You would think that an elephant would be easy to see, but that is not the case with this idiom.
Elephant in the room.
I really don't want to go to the meeting today.
Why? Just sit there and nod your head like I do.
But nobody is willing to talk about the elephant in the room.
What elephant?
The fact that our company has no money, broke.
Oh, that elephant in the room. Yeah, don't bring that up. Nobody wants to talk about that.
An elephant in the room is a problem that everyone knows about but does not want to talk about. It also refers to a truth everyone knows but ignores. A problem shouldn't be ignored, and neither should an elephant in the room with you. And that's English in a Minute.